Hey, my name is David Thomas, and I'm tired. I'm losing sleep over these gas prices. But anyway, I've taken some time to look into electric vehicles. I was wondering, is it possible for us to go fully electric? How's that? Would that even be possible? And how do electric vehicles impact the environment? I got a chance to talk to some cool people, did a lot of research. I did all the hard work so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey as I look for these answers.
Where to begin? First of all, I can't even get premium gas like I used to. But let's not make this about me. Let's say a quick prayer for all the 87 octane gas buttons all over the world. As I get ready to pump gas into my car, allow me to walk you through some of the research I conducted oriented around electric vehicles versus internal combustion vehicles, the cost of purchase, the maintenance cost that comes with it down the road, along with the environmental impacts that come with producing electric vehicles. So the first subtopic I kind of want to cover is whether or not it's actually cheaper to go electric. And this article I came across helped me figure out whether or not it is cheaper to go in the short and the long term. Buying an electric car on average will cost the consumer $10,000 more versus a vehicle that is strictly fueled by gasoline. Though an electric vehicle costs a bit more at MSRP for consumers, the government offers tax breaks running between 25 and 7,500 for newly purchased electric vehicles made after 2010. A 2020 Consumer Report study even found that electric vehicle owners on average spend 60% less on fuel compared to gasoline powered vehicles. The next part of my research I want to share with you guys is oriented around the number one important part of an electric vehicle, the battery. This next article I came across was centered around the most essential slash costly part of production of an electric vehicle, lithium batteries. Now, in the early days, when these cars first hit the market, we heard a lot of horror stories centered around the battery and how fast it declined and how much it costs, roughly around 30,000 to do a battery replacement. And this was steering a lot of consumers from being an owner of an electric vehicle. But now a lot of these vehicles come with an 8-year warranty, and even after the warranty, we see that the cost to replace a battery has dropped dramatically to around $10,000 for a 24 kilowatt battery. Though the price to produce a new battery has gone down, this does not take away from the fact that producing these batteries cause serious harm to the environment. Now, let's further expound on the costs of production when producing electric vehicles, not only financially but environmentally. I came across this case study that focuses on the cost to the environment when producing electric vehicles. Studies done in the United States, Europe, and in China show that the production of electric vehicles causes more greenhouse emission than producing an internal combustion vehicle. The lithium batteries that is necessary in the production of electric cars are bigger than the lead acid batteries used in internal combustion cars, and the lead acid batteries are actually way more easier to recycle compared to lithium. Also, the lithium ion batteries required a lot more energy to produce, and CO2 emissions from making these batteries are higher than what you save from not making an engine and transmission. Now that we got the boring part out of the way, I don't know about you, but I'm convinced. Follow me as I trade in my car and I get a Tesla.
No one ever saw me cry until I left the party the other night. Do you remember all the things that you said to me that came out of his mouth automatically? That I'm so used to
Just
saying.
kidding, not in that tax bracket. How about we talk to a specialist instead?
Oh, oh, perfect. We meet again. So, let me update you. I got the opportunity to conduct an interview with a Towson alumni who is currently finishing up their PhD program at UC Davis, centered around agricultural and environmental studies. They also currently work as an economist for the US Department of Energy. You guys might recognize him because he actually spoke with our class just a couple weeks ago. His name is Daniel Mazzone, and it was an honor and a pleasure to conduct this interview. I learned so much, and I can't wait for you guys to do the same.
I'd say over the past 10 years, we've seen a lot of growth. However, electric vehicles still remain by far the minority to internal combustion engine vehicles being on the road. And I think no more than I think 5% of all vehicles are electric in the U.S. But it's coming from really, really small numbers, and so there's been a lot of growth, but it's going to take a really long time until there's no gasoline powered cars on the road. Companies that are making electric vehicles are learning more efficient ways to make them, and ways to recycle, and there's economies of scale and economies of scope that are kind of taking over and lowering costs. On top of that, there's been again policy support. So there's been incentives that that lower the effective cost of producing electric vehicles and purchasing them from the consumer side. So I don't know. I can't give you too much good information on what's happened to batteries, really. Yeah, so that's a really good question. So there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot you really have to consider when you weigh the costs and benefits of electric vehicles, especially in terms of the environment. Electric vehicles are the main avenue for emissions reductions from electric vehicles is displacing petroleum. So the fuel, the electricity as a fuel, is what provides the environmental benefit of an electric vehicle, right? So it's the fact that we're using this alternative energy source other than petroleum, which is really bad for the environment, right? It has a very high carbon intensity. And so then it matters how much carbon emissions is associated with the electricity that we're using to power that electric vehicle, right? And it can be that the electricity used to power the electric vehicle comes from a very clean source, like solar or wind. And in that case, the environmental costs are very low of an electric vehicle. However, that's not always the case. So in California, our electricity comes primarily from clean sources, from renewable sources like solar, wind, etc. And that makes it, more likely that electric vehicles are having providing a net environmental benefit compared to internal combustion engine vehicles. It's certainly a possibility, and I think it's personally, I think it's likely that it will happen, but I think it's very uncertain when, and I think it's probably longer than most might think. So when, I can't tell you when, but what it will take is more. It's going to take more policy support. So in California, our governor signed an executive order that set a goal for California to for 100% of new vehicle sales to be zero emission vehicles by 2035. So that means, and zero emission vehicle, by the way, is electric vehicles and other emissions that have zero tailpipe emissions, like a fuel cell hydrogen vehicle. So it's not saying they have to all be electric, but what it is saying is that by 2035, you can't go to a dealership and buy a new car that uses gasoline. So that type of thing is pushing us in that direction. But that's only in California. And that's only for new sales, right? So there's still going to be a market for used cars where people can certainly go buy, you know, a gasoline powered car off the used market. They can buy it from another state, whatever it is. It's a very small thing, but if more states start to do that, something like that, this could, you know, it could accelerate things. But without kind of like requirements from policy, it's likely to go slow. And the other thing is pushing it fast isn't a good thing on its own. So as economists, we don't like that policy that I just mentioned. Saying that we're going to ban internal combustion engine vehicle sales, new sales by 2035 is a very bad policy, because it may be that at that time we don't have a lot of clean electricity generation, and so we're going to put a whole lot of electric vehicles on the road that are, and we're going to need to use more coal to produce the electricity for them to use. So what we would like to see as economists is that we let the market tell us, you know, the right kind of path for electric vehicle adoption. Not saying by this year you need to have this many, because the marginal cost to get to that could be very high to society. So that's those things are happening, but it's not necessarily a good thing or the right thing. And I think there's a lot of good arguments that getting electric vehicles on the road as quickly as possible isn't the right strategy to decarbonize. It's part of it, but it needs to go at the pace that really equates the marginal benefits to the marginal cost, considering all the things that I just mentioned before, like, you know, where's the electricity coming from? Do we have enough infrastructure and all these things?
Oh, we're back. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back from the interview part of my presentation. Hopefully you guys learned a lot more than you did before coming into this presentation. Unfortunately, I'm all out of things to give you guys. Once again, my name is David Thomas, and this was my presentation on electric vehicles, costs to produce, and the negative and positive impacts to the environment. Have a good night.